Welcome back into CBS Sports HQ. Oh, we have made it. College football starts this week. It is week 0 Saturday. Not only do we have good games, we have great games, including ranked on ranked. Iowa State going up against K-State. Danny, this one is in Dublin. Florida State was there, did not come out with a win last year.
That was a barn burner game, though. It was a great way to start the college football season. This is another one. Teams that have aspirations in a wide open Big 12, possibly contend for a conference championship. A couple good quarterbacks, Rocco Becht for Iowa State, Avery Johnson for Kansas State. I think this game is going to be phenomenal. Just a 3.5-point spread should be tight down to the wire. I love it.
Kansas State is the favorite to win the Big 12. Pour yourself a glass of Guinness there. Stanford and Hawaii, this one on CBS this weekend. Hawaii expected to start a freshman quarterback, and I'm loving just reading about Andrew Luck trying to turn over the Stanford program.
Good luck, Andrew, as they called in Frank Reich to be the interim coach. He very quickly pointed out, this is Andrew Luck's program. I'm just trying to keep it above water. They got a long uphill battle all season long. They don't have very many games that look winnable. This one out in the island would be one of those, but they're still an underdog to Timmy Chang's squad. Remember the legendary quarterback there? He's in his 4th year as coach already at Hawaii.
Absolutely love Timmy Chang. Not week 0, but week 1. One of the biggest games of the year, maybe the biggest game. Texas at Ohio State. And it does not get better than this.
No, it doesn't. And we finally know it's been made certain Julian Sayin is going to get the start for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He's going to be throwing a lot to that big fella, number 4, Jeremiah Smith on the outside. Who's playing for Texas quarterback? I forget.
I think
that's right.
Part of a famous family or something.
Yes, something like that. But yeah, the Arch Manning era kicks off at the Shoe. This is clearly the game of week 1. I cannot wait to see this game take place. We might even see it again in the playoffs.
Speaking of a Manning, knows very well what it's like to play at Rocky Top. Peyton Manning, Syracuse, a whole bunch of orange here going up against Tennessee. Joey Aguilar named the starting quarterback for the Volunteers.
Yes, and Steve Angeli at Syracuse just announced. Syracuse has one of the toughest schedules in all of college football. They play all four of the teams they play this season made the playoffs last year. Fran Brown's trying to replicate what he did last year. Josh Heupel for the Tennessee Vols is trying to make sure they don't have a regression. They've been a team that's been on the up and up in the SEC, but they don't have Dylan Sampson. They don't have several of their pass rushers on the defensive side of the ball. And, of course, breaking a new quarterback isn't going to be easy either. Nice little SEC versus ACC matchup.
And one more game we want to highlight. We are so excited about this, almost as much as Texas and Ohio State. Alabama at Florida State. Florida State trying to turn it around to get Tommy Castellanos, who's just been talking trash about Alabama.
I'd be talking trash if I could sling it like that, too. A little sidearm action there. This is going to be a huge game. A little bit concerned with that 13.5-point spread. The Florida State Seminoles, a home underdog. But you know they're going to get their best effort there in that opener.
So you're going to be there.
Yeah,
Our
me
crew,
and the fellas.
B-Mac, Emily Proud.
Yeah, I cannot wait.
What can they expect getting ready at Joe?
It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. The good news is everybody's optimistic, so you'll get the very best Florida State fan base that's out there. And you got a little bit surprised because we don't know what type of offense Gus Malzahn's going to roll out there. I think they can catch them potentially off guard early, and they better because Alabama's got some dudes along the offensive and defensive line.
So I swear to God, we did not plan this. Having our Knowles here with Danny Cannell, Brian McFadden, Damian Harris with Alabama. Guys, I guess, Damian, I'm going to go with you first because these guys are just going to talk way too much about Florida State here. Get us ready for this game. It is a big point spread. It's 13.5 points on the road for the Crimson Tide. What are you thinking about this game?
Well, this is going to be a huge game for both programs. The way I see this is the team that wins this game and goes out and performs well is going to push themselves into the right trajectory going into the rest of the season. The team that loses this game, well, I think we saw the result of that in 2018 when Florida State, they still haven't recovered since we put the beat down on them in Atlanta. So it's going to be important for both teams to want to start out the season on the right note, focusing on Alabama. You know, they just named Ty Simpson as a starting quarterback. Great. You won the job. Now what's next? We want to see how you handle adversity, and you're going to be tested early on. You're going to be on the road. Like Danny said, it's going to be a hostile environment. And not to mention, your starting running back just went down with a collarbone injury, and he's going to be out majority of the season. Hopefully, you're going to get him back for SEC play. But again, this is what it means to step into the starting quarterback job at the University of Alabama. You've got to be able to not only win the job, but handle the pressure that comes with it, and that starts week 1 in Tallahassee.
B-Mac, your faces say everything.
Yeah, he just lost me in the beginning of his statement talking about 2018 Atlanta. That has nothing to do with about what we're talking about.
The best indicator of the future is the past.
Oh,
You just wanted to throw a free stray at me and DK for no reason. We come in peace. We come in peace. We're trying to be the ultimate professionals. We want to assess this game, talk about what we think will happen, kind of give our predictions. You just threw a stray at us for no reason, but that's okay. We can take it. We accept it because
I'm supposed to be resilient now.
Will be played in Tallahassee. And I'll say this, you talked about the trajectory in terms of who wins this ball game. I think this game means more for Florida State than Alabama, in my opinion. Because when you look at the predictions in the SEC, many still feel like Alabama is one of the top teams in the SEC. The issue for Florida State is the unknowns. We don't know. What happened a year ago, it still has a very, very sour taste in FSU fans' mouth. So what will we see? And even if Florida State loses, how will they lose? How does it look? That's very, very important because they never got out. They never got away from that loss against Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech beat them 3 more weeks after the fact. So me personally, just seeing how competitive and the energy and how they compete is very, very important for Florida State because if they come out, most importantly, if they win, everyone will look at Florida State differently. But even if they don't win, if they fight, if they compete, you still have to be very, very, very optimistic about Florida State, especially in the ACC.
I love you, Beam, but I disagree. I think this game means way more for Alabama than it does Florida State. I mean, you're coming off a 2-10 record. Like, you win, amazing. If you lose, okay, keep going on.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Hey, DK, can you back me on this? The reason why this game does not mean as much for Alabama as it does for Florida State is because certain folks within college football love Alabama. They can do no wrong in certain folks' eyes. That's all I'm going to say. So even if they lose, you better believe they still will have their name sprinkled in that playoff conversation at the end of the season when it's all said and done.
I just want to say something. Real quick, just for everybody out there listening. In Tuscaloosa, we don't look at games and say, well, if we lose, then no, we don't. We stop before we even get started right there. It's when we win, and that's the expectation going into Tallahassee. You can bank it.
Well, when you went to Vanderbilt last year, you didn't win, and that's why.
Oklahoma.
Are we talking about Vandy?
That was ugly too. Yeah, when you said the past is the indicator of the future. I'm going all the way in the past just to last year. Here's where I would disagree with BMAC because I do think this game means way more for Alabama. They are the trendy pick. They are supposed to have a big rebound season in Kalen DeBoer's second year as the coach. If they lose, the panic will set in, and they'll say, how could we have lost this Florida State team, which is so unpredictable? And then you kind of have to hope that Florida State is significantly better, because if they're not, then all of a sudden your playoff hopes could be completely shot if you lose to a team that the experts are only predicting a 7.5 win total for Florida State. So I think there's a lot more pressure riding on Alabama. If you're Florida State and you lose, like, yeah, you might have lost to a playoff team. Like, and it's bad. It hurts that it's at home, but you were just a 2-win season. And if you're competitive, like you said, BMAC, then I think you kind of take it as a moral victory. But we don't believe in moral victories either in Tallahassee. So I'm not saying that's the case either. Sure? But I do think this game has much more riding on it for Alabama. They're supposed to win and win handily. If they lose the game outright, I think there's some panic in Tuscaloosa. I
absolutely agree. We have a lot of time to talk about that game, so let's move on here. I'm thinking of Texas going up against Ohio State now like Game of Thrones, right? This is just how big it is now. We have the new house of Julian Sand. We have the new house of Arch Manning.
Yeah.
These two schools that are the favorites to win the national championship. Texas is ranked higher than Ohio State. Ohio State is the reigning champs. Danny, get us ready for this one.
I mean, sometimes too, as we've seen kingdoms like unhinged, if you get a King Joffrey, and you know, like which one of those could be him? It could be a disaster, right? It could be a disaster. But this game is huge for so many reasons. Playoff implications. You might see it again, even potentially. But the overreactions to this game are what I'm really caution people to take away from this one, because if Arch Manning plays and they win and Arch Manning wins, he's going to be off to the races, give him the Heisman, and it'll be way over the top praise. If he loses, then it's, oh, he's just overrated because his last name is Manning. That's the only reason he gets all this hype. I feel bad for him because either way, it's going to be really hard for him to handle all of that, although he's done and said everything the right way. For Ohio State, they're at home. home. They're the defending national champion. It means a ton for them. And same, there's just as much pressure on their quarterback, Julian Sayin, to step in and see very little drop-off, even though they've lost so much on that offensive side of the ball.
I don't know how bad I feel for Arch Manning, given that NIL is now a thing.
Yeah.
Damian, when you look at this game, I mean, how much of an indicator, without overreacting, is it going to be for each of these programs the first week?
Well, that's just going to be the key. It's not to overreact, because whichever team wins, we know this is a long college football season and there's a lot of parity like we saw last year. So just because you win this game, the biggest season opener that we've seen in a long time, that doesn't guarantee you anything. And again, these are two young quarterbacks who not only are trying to win week one, they're trying to lead their teams to the college football playoff. So that's going to take an entire season of body of work in order to do that. But I want to look at something interesting that I think about, and it's on the defensive side of the ball, not talking about the quarterbacks, not talking about the offensive coaches, but both defenses have lost a lot. Now, we look at this Texas defense, and last year we thought they struggled against the run. Their interior D linemen weren't that great. Well, on top of that, they lost Jahdae Barron, Jim Thorpe Award winner, and they lost Andrew Makuba, who's playing with the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Then you look at Ohio State, who just lost their defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles, to Penn State. So really, I'm looking at the defensive matchups and seeing which defense is going to come out ready to play on all three levels, control the ball against two explosive offenses with playmakers at the quarterback position, the running back position, the wide receiver position. Which defense is going to come out and stand their ground the most? That's going to be the team I think comes out victorious in this game.
And Dame, you talked about the losses from the personnel side of things. What about Ryan Day and his staff? He has to replace both coordinators from a year ago. Brian Hartline takes over the offense. Matt Patricia takes over the defense. So you look at that side of things. Usually there's always maybe a slow start, to say the least, in terms of the rhythm or the lack thereof. But will they be firing on all cylinders, playing against a very, very talented quarterback, as you guys mentioned, at Arch Manning? But the one luxury Ohio State defensively have at their disposal, outside of having Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles, they're playing against an offensive line that's only returning one starter from a year ago in C.J. Campbell. That is a huge luxury, especially playing at home. So can they find a way to make that pocket a little hot for their secondary members, so they can squat on some routes? So let's see exactly what type of game plan Matt Patricia has, being the defensive coordinator for Ohio State, because he has a nice resume when having that title on above his name.